Assuming at some point no investor comes, are you saying that the bank's viability will be in question?
It will be a failure on the part of the regulators if no investors come. The essence is to allow for private investment.
That is what I even want us to look at. Being a lawyer, people are worried. You look at all the panic withdrawal, loads of complaints, even our tweets. Someone is asking what happens to depositors as well as investors. As a lawyer and an industry watcher, what do you think the depositors and investors will be doing or thinking of doing at this point just to safeguard their investment as well as boost their confidence?
Well, it is imperative that we don't create panic in the system. As far as the process is concerned, I think the depositors shouldn't be panicky, as it were, to run after their money, to withdraw their money. They should appreciate the circumstances of the takeover. However, as regards the investors, it raises a lot of questions. Now, without prejudice to, I'm not wanting to hold brief for investors, and without prejudice to the protection of depositors' funds. Now, what happens to these investors, the original owners? So some people owned these banks. They were first and foremost companies before they operated as banks, having licenses to render banking services. Now, what happens to this ownership structure? We must. CBN has created a system where investment has become tentative in the Nigerian system. As an investor, you may find it difficult presently to want to invest in the shares of a bank in Nigeria, because tomorrow you may, because of the paucity of information available in the public domain, you don't know what is happening in the bank. You wake up one morning and you hear that the CBN has taken over a bank that you may have millions in, and you just find yourself, or rather a bank that you have invested millions in as a shareholder, and you find out that your money that you invested becomes zero. Now, yes, we also appreciate the fact that as an investor, you should take the risk. You should appreciate the risk of when it is good, you reap. When it is bad, you lose. However, there should be some forms of predictability, and there should be some forms of confidence on the part of the investors that when they invest their money, even while they are losing, there should be a process of loss.
Just in case someone loses out in all of this, is there any kind of legal way with which you can get your funds back, going by the law establishing NDIC and AMCON? Because they say these are some kind of assurances for the investors as well as depositors, just to tell them that irrespective of whatever happens, your money is safe.
For a depositor, there's a ceiling of 500,000 naira. Even if you have 10 accounts, all of those 10 accounts will be merged into one by NDIC, and you'll be entitled to a ceiling of 500,000 naira. NDIC will calculate it proportionately to how much you have in the bank and pay you what you are entitled to. Now, having said that, for depositors, the investors now in some...
Sorry, Mr. Ikeji, I'm not getting you here. You're saying that if I have 20 million naira, what's the maximum I might be allowed to be paid?
That is the provision of the NDIC
at any point in time. It's 500.
That is the ceiling.
So if all else fails.
When the bank fails.
But in this case, can we say that the banks have failed?
No.
So
that
in
is why
other
Section
words,
38 is operative, of the NDIC Act is operative here. Failing banks.
So in other words, with this 500,000 naira ceiling.
Yes, operative now. No, it won't be operative now.
It won't be operative now.
It won't be operative now. It is when these banks have been declared failed. And that is what CBN and NDIC are trying to are guarding against, by not waiting for these banks to finally fail. Where they have seen the process and the process looks like failing, the process is showing that these banks are in the process of failing. They need not wait.
Let's pause the law for a moment here now and see, looking from past experience, what we've seen with the 5 banks with the injection of funds by the CBN. Let's key that into what is happening with these 3 banks, and AMCON has just put some money into that. How can we make it work? We're talking about the workability so that we don't get into that awful moment where we'll be talking about a ceiling of 500,000 naira.
Yes, presently it is the regulators' problem. It is a regulation issue. The regulators must be on the watch out. They should be on the watch out. Presently, I think they are on the watch out. I think they are...
Who are the regulators now? The CBN, amcon, and NDIC?
Yes, CBN, NDIC, and amcon. Amcon being an arm of the CBN. Now, the CBN is up and doing. The NDIC is up and doing. All we as lawyers are questioning about some of their actions are the principles of fair hearing and due process in carrying out some of their actions. But in the whole, the intentment of their actions, you can see through it, the intentment of their actions has been good. But the goodness of an action does not preclude the fact that you may have wronged one or two people, and those people wronged, like I used to say, like we lawyers used to say, ibis juice, ibi remedy. Where there is a wrong, there is a remedy. Those people who have been wrong may have a remedy somewhere along the line. So CBN and NDIC are performing their jobs presently to the satisfaction of some of the industry workers, but they have to do it in such a way as to carry everybody along.
But before that particular takeover over the weekend, there was this, talks between AfriBank and now Main Street Bank with a certain investor. We thought we were going to see the end of that deal so that AfriBank or Main Street Bank, as it is now, wouldn't be part of this whole exercise.
Yes, thank you so much. That's a very good question because it has implications on private investment in Nigeria. If you've set in motion a process as a regulator, it raises the issue of over-regulation again, which on other occasion we would look at over-regulation of the system. If you as a regulator has set a process in motion and in fulfillment or in pursuant to that process, a company, a bank, goes ahead to get an investor and speaks with the investor and signs, as it were, an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, which sometimes has the clothes of enforcement. Sometimes MOUs are enforceable, and you turn around and remove the carpet from under the feet of these MOUs. It raises question as to the intention of the regulation. It leaves us with several questions on the doorstep of the CBN. That why would AfriBank, then AfriBank, as you have rightly mentioned, enter into an MOU with Vine Capital? That is the name of the company. We saw it in the papers. Vine Capital Limited, for investment, for injection of funds. We don't know what happened. We don't know if CBN had different standards that probably that MOU didn't pass, test or standards that MOU didn't pass, that warranted CBN to refuse to approve that MOU. It has serious implications. It has very serious implications on private investment. What would Vine Capital, for example, do tomorrow if there is an opportunity to come into Nigeria to invest again? Would they be encouraged to invest? It raises a lot of questions. So CBN has to answer that question. What informed its action in refusing that MOU between AfriBank and Vine Capital?
And talking about answering questions, the CBN made a statement with the last shareholders that took them to court that the shareholders are the least considered whenever they make this kind of moves.
Yes.
Now, considering where we are now,
yes,
and considering the fact that with these three banks that have gone,
yes,
shareholders are likely to lose quite a lot of money.
Yes, of course.
And there's likely to be a court action.
Of course. Yes,
so what advice? Now, the CBN told them that if they withdraw that case from the court, then they do have a chance with them, as if they can settle out of court.
Yes.
But if they insist on going ahead with the court case, then...
Yes. Now, let us paint a scenario. You as an investor, you invested 10 naira in a company worth 100 naira. That means that you have 10% in that company. If suddenly that 100 naira of that company suddenly becomes a negative 200 naira, your 10 naira becomes probably a negative 20 naira. So more or less, somehow you may have now to invest more so as to bring that company back into a positive trend. That means that your money has become a loss. That is the position of shareholders. What CBN has done by injecting money into some of these banks has completely, well, I don't know if I should use the word completely, but has obliterated the interests and investments of these shareholders. But that is not to say that you do not need to explain to the shareholders how their interests have been obliterated, how you have reduced them to insignificance.
So would you advise the shareholders to withdraw their cases from
No, I would not. That would be against the interest of justice. Let the courts decide. In fact, let it get up to the Supreme Court so that it will be a reference point tomorrow as to regulatory actions.